Welcome back to Amy Lynn Creative. I am sharing today how to find information and research effectively. Like, duh, Amy, Google it. Okay, I get that you can just Google stuff. I am sharing tips and tricks for how to find all the information you need as a small business owner. For entrepreneurs, small business owners, whatever you label yourself as, the amount of knowledge that you need to learn can be incredibly overwhelming, and sometimes it's hard to know where to look for that information. First of all, what I see a lot is someone will go to their Facebook group that they're in and say, how do I use Instagram? Okay, that's not helpful to anyone, and it's a waste of everyone's time, including yours, I promise. Okay, so instead of saying, how do I use Instagram? Okay, what don't you know about Instagram? Now, first of all, let's stick with the Instagram example. Go to the experts. Who is the expert on using Instagram? Instagram. So let's say that you have never used Instagram before, okay? It could feel really overwhelming. Download the app, that's the first thing. Download the app, and when you open the app, it's gonna walk you through the basics of starting your account. And voila, you're already farther along than you were the first time. You've had the expert, Instagram, show you how to set up your Instagram account. Okay. Next, you have a lot of very specific questions. So how do I actually use Instagram for my business? How do I post photos on Instagram? What are hashtags? How do I use hashtags? How do people find me on Instagram? How do I get new followers on Instagram? Those are great questions, and Google can help you with a lot of them. And not just Google, there are other search engines too, and we will talk about those. Let's start with Google. And I will post a little photo somewhere on here. How do I edit my photos for Instagram? All right, here we go. The very first thing that pops up, I have my laptop here that I'm looking at. Very first thing that pops up is from the Instagram help section. Instagram has a help section? What? Imagine that. Okay, so Instagram itself has a help section. Now, in addition, there are a lot of people that are really good at Instagram, and fortunately for us, they have shared many, many tips and tricks on their blogs. Now, Google wants to be helpful. Google makes money from helping you find what you're looking for. So Google is going to give you a bunch of different options. For instance, Jenna Kutcher comes up pretty high on the list. You'll see a lot of techniques from different experts around the industry. Now, don't stop at Google, because honestly, I use Google probably about really only a third of the time. I use other search engines for things that I'm looking for, depending on what it is. Okay, so let's stick with the Instagram example. I am then, once I have some information from the experts, Instagram and Instagram pros, then I'm going to go to Pinterest. Okay? Now, usually we think of Pinterest as a place to find inspiration, and I absolutely use it for that very frequently. But Pinterest can also answer a lot of your questions. So if you start typing in keywords like especially like strategy things, like how do I find more followers on Instagram, it's gonna come up with all these different blog posts from various successful Instagram users. And the only difference here is that the more you get into people just using it in their businesses and sharing tips and tricks, these are strategies that worked well for them and may not work for you. So you kind of need to take it with a grain of salt. How would you use it in your business versus their business? It could be a lot different because you're a different person and you have a different business. Okay, so Pinterest is a really good search engine for finding strategies and checklists and things like that. Okay, another one that I use frequently is YouTube. Now, YouTube is fantastic. There are so many people on YouTube sharing really helpful information, far more helpful than what I'm sharing. But I use YouTube especially for how-tos. So how do I, especially technical stuff, like how do I do this on my computer? Or how do I edit photos in Lightroom? There's a lot of Instagram tips and tricks on there too. So using those three in conjunction and knowing when to use them can really, really help. Okay, now one of the type of information I want to touch on is legal and business information. This could be tax information, business licensing information. Those things should not be searched on YouTube or Pinterest. Those are things where you need to go to the experts, and you need to go to the experts to learn those things. The expert would be your local government. So if it's federal, if it's like income tax and stuff like that's federal, and you'd go to irs.gov to find that. If it's state information like state sales tax, state income tax, registering your business, those you go to your state government websites. Google can be helpful because it can bring up government websites are, I don't care what government website is, it's probably a hot mess. So it can actually be helpful because to Google stuff first, because you will see government URLs coming up. Just don't click on anything that's not a government website, because that means it's not official information coming from an official source, the source that's going to fine you if you do it wrong. So make sure you're going to the government website to find that information, and but Google can help you find like the specific page on the website that you need. Okay, every once in a while, even on an official website, you won't find the information that you're looking for. In that case, look for an email address. There should be one somewhere, email address of a person in that department that you can actually email, and a real person will email you back with official information. So that's a tip there. Now, let's go back to the Facebook group thing. Let's say you're in a photography Facebook group and you've got a scenario and it's like an interpersonal thing, or it's a one in a million kind of thing. That's a good scenario. A specific, unique scenario is a great place to go to a Facebook group and discuss with your peers. And then filter through that information to find, what's and what you're gonna go with. Another thing with Google and Pinterest and YouTube is that they're all a little bit different in how they accept information. So Google, you can ask it a question. How do I use Instagram Reels? And it basically answers the question for you. Pinterest is more of a keyword-based thing, so I wouldn't ask a question, and I would phrase it more like Instagram Reels, and then a bunch of things would come up instead of saying, how do I use Instagram Reels? So there's just a couple different ways there. YouTube is kind of, you can do either. Search different terms or different combinations of words until you find the information that you're looking for. It's very, very rare that I have not been able to find what I'm looking for between those three platforms. I hope this video was helpful. Please hit subscribe and like this video if it was, and I will see you in the next one.